Let's continue our previous episode on Azure Compute. And in this section, we will be talking about how the B series virtual machines they differ from the traditional Azure virtual machines. So let's start our journey. Traditional Azure VMs have a fixed level of CPU performance. Whatever the CPU power you choose when you set up the VM, that's what you are going to get all the time. However, in the B series VMs, they are a bit different. They use a system called CPU credit to manage their CPU performance. Let's try to understand the CPU credit model. V series VMs don't have a fixed level of CPU power. Instead, they have a base level of the CPU performance and they can temporarily use more CPU power if needed. For using that CPU power, you need to accumulate those credits. So when a workload on a B series VM is running less CPU than its base level, the VM accumulate the CPU credits. If the workload needs more CPU power from the base level, it can use those accumulated credits. Once all the CPU credits are used up, the VM goes back to its base level of the CPU performance. When a V series VM runs out of the CPU credits, it's like hitting a limit. The VM then slowed down to the base CPU performance level until it gathers enough CPU credits again to burst its CPU uses. In simpler terms, think of V series VM like a car with a turbo boost. The base performance like driving normally, but when you need extra power, like going uphill or accelerating quickly, you can use up the turbo boost CPU credits. Once you have used it all, you are back to the normal until it recharges. Let's talk about the V series V1 type of VMs. These are basically the VM runs on the third generation Intel processors. And V series VMs are ideal for workload that do not need full performance of the CPU continuously, like web servers, small databases, and development build. These workload typically have bustable performance requirement. The V series provides you with the ability to purchase a VM size with a baseline performance that can build up credit when it is using less than the baseline. When the VM has accumulated credits, then the VM can burst above the baseline using up to the 100% of the vCPU when your application requires higher CPU performance. Let's take a look on some of the parameters when you are provisioning V series with the V1. So the first thing to start with is going to be the base CPU performance. This is the minimum CPU performance threshold a VM will have available as always. The second thing is the initial credit, the number of credit allocated to the V series virtual machine when a VM is deployed. Then you are going to have credit bank hour. The number of credits a V series virtual machine accumulates per hour. If the VM is idle, that means no CPU performance consumption. And then you are going to have the max banked credit, the maximum number or the upper limit of the credits of a V series virtual machine can accumulate. Upon reaching to the upper limit, a V series VM can no longer accumulate more credits. And then you are going to have CPU credit consumed. And CPU credit consumed means the number of CPU credits spent during the measurement time period, and then the CPU credits remaining, the number of CPU credits available to consume for a given virtual machine. Percentage CPU is something CPU performance for a given VM during the measurement period. If you take a look on VASV2 series. This is something these virtual machines are running on the AMD processors. So this A means it is going to be the AMD. And also one thing to be noticed, all these machines, they're not going to support your nested virtualization. Nested virtualization is very, very important and is a feature that allow you to run a hypervisor such as Hyper-V inside a virtual machine. That simply means you can create VM within another VM, forming a virtualization hierarchy. In this case, Hyper-V exposes the hardware virtualization extension to a virtual machine. With the nesting enabled, a guest virtual machine can install its own hypervisor and run its own guest VM. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.